Alison Arngrim. And yeah, this is the Alison Arngrim Show. Okay, well, I'm Alison Arngrim, and some of you may know me as, yes, Nellie Olson from Little House on the Prairie. But tonight, thank heavens, I am Alison Arngrim, and this is the Alison Arngrim Show. And here on the Alison Arngrim Show, we talk about things that make you feel good. The TV shows and the movies that made us feel good, and the people who made them, and people who are doing things now to make the world a better and more interesting place. And I have a returning customer. I have a return guest, an old friend of mine. And you loved him then, you love him now. This guy is an artist, Howie Green of Howie Green Design. So many of you have seen my website, bonnetheads.com, and have seen some of the stuff, the Nelly artwork, and some of you seen T-shirts and things that have done with these wild psychedelic Nelly stuff. Like, where is she getting this stuff? Because I have this friend who is this absolutely incredible artist, Howie Green, who I've known forever. We're like hundreds of years old now. And he's been an artist absolutely forever, and has a wonderful, fabulous story, and has new stuff. He has like new stuff. And I just had Ryan Landry on, who comedian, drag queen, everything, rock star, who's now a painter. And now we have Howie. So it's like art month. It's like art month over here. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, Howie Green.
Oh, it's Boston art. Ryan lives just down the street.
It must be Boston art month. Is it all Boston artists? Yeah, P-Town, Boston, you're Boston. Right. So you've seen each other's cows. Wait, that sounds weird. Why did I? Indeed. Because in Boston, they've been having this cow parade where all these artists paint these cows. And Ryan just did a cow, and you've been doing cows for ages. He just did a cow. You are like the cowmeister, and have been. Explain the cow parade, because everybody goes, what?
The cow parade is a public art event that started, I believe, in Chicago about 20 years ago or so, and they go from city to city, and they have life-size fiberglass cows that they get artists to paint, and they go on public display. They get sponsors, and they sell the cows. And all the money always goes to a good cause. In Boston, it's going to the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, which is also known as the Jimmy Fund. Anybody who lives in Boston knows about the Jimmy Fund. So it's the 75th anniversary of the Jimmy Fund. So there are 75 cows currently out on the streets of Boston. And I did 6 of them. I collaborated on 2 of them, and I'm finishing up one more here in backup.
Oh, but you didn't do one cow. You did 6 cows.
And
yes,
then I did 6 cows.
That's a herd.
That's
a herd. You painted a herd.
Yeah, I got my own herd, my own personal herd. And I saw on the expressway today that one of my cows made it onto a billboard that one of the sponsors who sponsored my cow put it on the billboard. So if you're driving into Boston, you will see my cow.
Wow. And Ryan did a lovely cow. I saw his cow.
Ryan did a beautiful cow, yes. We painted the cows. We were painting all winter in the warehouse. And I think Ryan painted his at his studio. But his came in, so it was like right next to where I was painting. So I kept saying, "Who did this cow?" Oh, Ryan. Oh, Ryan did. Okay, yeah.
It's like, of course, it's a Ryan cow. Now you have a cow literally laying on its back, hooves up in the air, right behind you.
Can you see this? These are the hooves.
No, he's a little guy, because aren't the cows kind of big?
He's a little. See, yes, he's upside down. This is called a mini moo. There are,
Mini Moo. I have a brand of chocolate syrup I use called Midnight Moo. Mini Moo? Mini Moos.
Yeah, they've nicknamed them Mini Moos. I think there are 12 Mini Moos. I did one by myself, and this one is by, at the opening event, they had all 75 artists were there, most of them, and each one did a heart on this cow, and I'm cleaning it up and finishing it off and getting it ready for the auction at the end of August. So I'll do one more cow. I think this is my 9th cow that I worked on.
Your 9th?
Yeah, my 9th cow.
It's
I'll paint
like an entire artistic dairy farm at this point.
Exactly. Yes, I have a pop art dairy farm filled with my goofy art. Yeah. I mean, they're amazing. They're just all over the place in Boston.
We sent in some pictures of your stuff. We'll see if we can pop some of that up at some point. But yeah. You are like the pop art king. I mean, when people see all those old things in the 60s, the Peter Mac stuff and the psychedelia and that kind of Sergeant Pepperish thing, you are a child of that. And a lot of your stuff is out of that era.
Well, it is. I mean, when I was in school and all that was going on, and so I just loved it because I was in school, and I loved that stuff. I got to work with Peter Max in the late 80s, early 90s for quite a few years on a number of projects, and he was very encouraging, and he was great. I think I did about 6 or 7 projects with him, And
Yes.
he was very encouraging and got me back to being a painter again. And because when I was sort of coming out of publishing and getting back into doing art. Um, but yeah, so I started doing that style again about 10 years ago. And I actually called Peter. I said, "Hey, I've got this project. Do you want to do it?" And he said, "Nah, you do it." So I did it, and
Whoa.
it just took off. It was a style I hadn't worked in about 20 years or so, and it just took off on it. Now it's got a life of its own. I've been doing all kinds. I've done jigsaw puzzles and licensing projects and murals, and I mean
You
it's just
sent me
crazy.
this morning. You sent me the picture of the jigsaw puzzle that
But I
just completely looks like 1969 and really good acid. And I love jigsaw puzzles. I was like, I want that jigsaw puzzle. Yeah, you sent me some
yes,
pictures freaking out.
that's one I
So
did. Actually, that's one I have two new ones. That was one of
good.
the other one is sort of pop art soup cans like Andy Warhol did. So it wasn't quite as interesting. But the one I sent you, yeah, it's the crazy psychedelic, psychedelic pop art.
Nice.
I mean, yeah, yeah, very
And
crazy.
and now you haven't always been a pop art. I guess you sort of have. And when I look at like some of the stuff I've had, like my cow jacket and my Nelly posters you've done,
Right.
I mean, there's been a lot of psychedelia. Have you ever? What have you done that like wasn't psychedelic? I'm
Oh, I do
thinking
stuff
'cause
all the
back when
time.
you started.
Well, my training was very traditional with art school, so it was like you learn to draw, you do figure drawing, all that stuff. But I've always done that. I've always had sketchbooks. Back in my guest room, there's like an entire bookshelf full of sketchbooks going back into the 70s. So recently, I've been doing urban sketching. That's an
Mm.
international sort of phenomenon that's going on now. So I'm a very active member of Boston Urban Sketchers. One of my cows, actually, in Faneuil Hall, is covered with my urban sketches. There's 80 of my urban sketches.
Whoa! You
So
covered
it's
the
like
cow in the urban sketches?
I did. It's like a sketchbook cow. So there's 80 of my urban, so all sketches in and around Boston, all about, but it's covering my. So that's something I do that has nothing to do with pop art. That's just me drawing, from life.
Well, you were doing stuff like painting a day, like during the lockdown and everything, COVID, there was
That's,
a lot of painting a day stuff. You start doing a
yes,
drawing or painting a day, and that stuff was about everything. That was every kind, you did every kind of style imaginable.
I did, trying to stay sane during COVID. Yeah, yeah. No, I did. I was doing because I do a lot. I mean, I just draw all the time. So I go to figure drawing class a couple times a month, and I just go to the museum and sketch on Friday nights with a couple of friends of mine. So I mean, just I'm always drawing something. So there's always stuff that I can post. Yeah, and it varies from crazy psychedelic pop art stuff to very realistic portraits and everything in between. So I it's sort of puzzling to people that I can do more than one style of art, but you know. I
Well,
do all
because then
kinds
they
of
just
different
go, oh,
styles.
it's the psychedelic guy. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Howie.
he's a
He's insane.
psychedelic.
That's all he
Oh, look,
paints.
he can actually draw too. It's always a surprise to people. Yeah,
Now that we talked about the last show, it's like you went to art school, but you've talked about this because I've had friends who want to become artists or starting to become artists and like going, should I go to art school? Should I? And I'm like, go talk to my friend Howie, who is a very successful artist in Boston, about art school because maybe you should go and maybe not.
maybe you should. Yeah. Wow, that's a long discussion, but yeah, I've recently had that with a couple of parents. I've been teaching classes, and I did some substitute teaching this year for fun. I've never done it before, so I ran into a lot of parents of kids who wanted to go to art school. So we got into a lot of discussions about should we spend $60,000 a year to send little Skippy to art school? And it's kind of a big discussion because there's a lot of reasons that's great. There's a lot of reasons, mostly $62,000, and there's a lot of reasons why maybe it's
Welcome.
not a great idea. So yeah,
So yeah, now you did do art school, but
I did.
you said the real thing of art school was not even so much was taught in the classes, but meeting the other people. It's the experience.
Yes, what I learned in classes I think was somewhat minimal. I learned more from my friends by just hanging out with them. And you go in this class and you find the talented kids and you hang out with them because they're the ones you're going to learn from. The people who aren't very good are never going to teach you anything. So I immediately hooked up with some really talented classmates of mine. And I think I learned more from just hanging around with them and watching what they did and how they did it than I did from the actual classes. I had a couple of good teachers, but mostly it was sort of you kind of self-directed. You want to if you want to do realistic stuff. Well, maybe you'll stay in figure drawing class an extra hour, where some of the kids leave after an hour. I'll stay there for another hour. If I can outwork them, maybe I can outdraw them. So that's kind of wow. That was always my sort of my modus operandi. It was like I'll be the last one standing. And eventually it started to pay off. But yeah, so our schools are very and my sort of unofficial grandson graduated a couple of years ago from art school, and he had kind of the same experience I did, like, 50 years later. He had pretty much the same experience. A great group of friends, very talented kids, and the classes, maybe not so great. So he learned a lot, and he learned a lot from me, but he learned a lot from his friends, and I think that's the invaluable part of going to art school is that you're with other artists or other people who
you're
are trying.
doing it. You're painting, you're
Right.
drawing, you're actually doing it. Because that was one of the
Every
things we talked about.
day.
That for some people, as you said, there are such things as people's outsider arts. There are people. It's just like,
Oh,
no, you're doing the thing that you're doing. This is it. This is what you're doing. Don't mess with it.
well, that's the important part. I mean, the reason that people drop out of art school because they didn't think it was going to be so hard. You have to draw and paint. You have to draw and paint every day,
What did you say?
and
You dropped out when I was talking about art school. You said like half the class, but they were
oh,
gone.
more than him. I think my class. I think I just checked with a friend of mine recently. We were talking, and I think we started with like 300 kids in freshman year, and senior class we graduated with 65.
Jesus,
So
that's everybody. That's like
that's a,
nobody graduated.
that's a lot of attrition, right? That's a lot
Yeah,
of people
that's
just
bad. And you
thinking,
think art school, okay, if it was, oh my God, advanced chemistry, or it was, calculus, or just science, it was going to be like a lot of math. You go, yeah, you're going to lose something. There's art school. It's coloring, right? And you lost that many people.
right? Because people
Damn,
come
what
in
did they
thinking,
find out that they needed to go?
yeah, then people come in and go, oh, this is really hard. I have to do figure drawing at 8:30 in the morning for 3 hours, but wake up to that, 4 times a week, or I have to do, I have to hand in something every other day, and you have to keep a sketchbook every day, and your entree into the class is the sketches you did yesterday. So you come in, and if you didn't do them, the teacher closes the door and says, "Sorry,
No,
you're not coming in."
you don't show up with your homework. You can't. Oh my God, I'm trying
Yeah.
to
Oh no,
imagine what would have happened to me in junior high and high school if they said, show us your homework. You can't.
right.
I'd have been in the parking lot.
I had a couple. I think I had two teachers. I had a three-dimensional design teacher who did that, and one of my sketching teachers. If you hadn't done five, you had to do 5 drawings every day. And when you came in the morning, you had to show him the 5 new sketches, or he would just send you out of the class and close the door. So yeah,
Holy crap.
it's a lot of work. It's going to art school is a lot of work, and people
And
just
that's
got
another thing. Something I've been reading about. There's that book, and God, I think you may have turned me onto it. It's about the book. It's not how good you are; it's how good you want to be. There's Paul
oh, that's
something, this
good. That's a
crazy
good
author.
step.
It's hilarious, and he's like just I'd love to get him on the show. Go track him down. And he's an artist for advertising. His background is totally advertising. He says, "No, my background totally advertising. I know nothing about it." However, and it's like this hilarious little bathroom kind of reading, but all these quotes, and it's all about no, aspire to like way past what you think you can be doing. It's not how good you are, it's how good would you like to be. But he talks about not hanging on, clutching too tightly to ideas like, oh, my idea is so precious. I'm going to
Oh,
make this one painting, this one drawing, and that's it. Because you're going 5 a day. Where are these 5 drawings a day? Do they get thrown away? I mean, in some
no,
cases you were able to stick them on a cow, but what do
well,
you do,
they
Paul?
they become part of your sketchbook library. You see, the idea isn't necessarily that you're going to do 5 good drawings. It's just to get you in the habit of drawing every day, looking at the world around you, and drawing everything, because you have to be able to draw everything. You
So
know,
you have
uh,
the idea. People
and
go,
that was
I'm working on the one thing, but you can't draw the same thing 5 times, can you?
no, you can't. You have to.
Right.
The idea was to draw the world around you
And
and
then new
express.
things. But that's constant new things and then new stuff. And that's what he's talking about, that people, especially artists and writers, will say, well, this is my baby here. I can't change it. And how many other things you do? No, just this. And it's like, not really how it works. And
Right.
because he was in advertising, and he said they'd spend weeks, months designing all this gorgeous stuff. And they'd bring in, they go, we don't like it. Or, oh, actually, we changed our minds. The ad campaign's not about a bus, it's about a banana. Come back.
Oh, that happens all the time. No, when I had my studio, I had a studio for 20 years, as you know. And my favorite one was we had designed this terrific thing. It was absolutely fabulous. And the client took it home to his wife, and she didn't like green. So
Oh, geez,
the whole, and it was nothing to do with anything. The green was
green.
there for a
I don't
purpose.
like the color.
I
I
didn't like
don't
the
like the
green. So
color.
the whole thing was thrown in the garbage. We had to start all over again because the missus didn't like green. But that happens all the time. That happens all
Yeah.
the time. So I was telling my students this year, the kids I had in my classes, I don't want to have you say, I worked really hard on this, or I spent a long time on this because it doesn't matter.
Because they
If it's
don't
great,
care.
I don't care how long you spent on it, and I don't care how hard you worked on it, as long as it's good. But yeah, the thing you said about trying to be as good as you want to be, you're never as good as you want to be, ever.
Right.
I mean, and that doesn't matter if you're an artist or an athlete or an actress or a singer. You're never as good as you want to be. You always want to do one more take, want to do one more shot at it, right? And
Right.
so I think that's just a rule of life for a creative person is always have to aspire to, you know, I would say no matter how good I get, there's always Monet, you know, there's always there's always Van Gogh, there's always
I
somebody
like
who
there's always Monet, right?
yeah, and I look at them and I go, well, I suck, but I mean, it's just
It's like
there's
I could
always
get I could get the greatest performance in the world. Hello, Meryl Streep. Well, hello, Dame Judith Evans.
right.
What do you
There's always somebody like there's always
right.
I mean, Tony Bennett just died, but I mean for generations of singers, that you know how good you are, yeah, but then there's Tony Bennett,
So
so
there's
there's
Tony
always
Bennett. So you're just gonna have to be you. It's what do you
right.
yeah. At some
So
point you go, well, this is what I got.
yeah, I had one of my best friends in school, Peter Berg, was at 17 already an accomplished artist.
Well,
His father was art director at Xerox. His mother was an interior designer. So he was raised and nurtured. So, but he was like better than anybody else in the school, including the teachers. So I instantly became his best friend. So I thought this guy's going to teach me a lot. And
right?
so I became really good friends with Peter and were friends for years. And it was startling to me as I realized how far behind I was compared to him. It's like, oh, he draws and paints every day. I got to up my game here if I'm going to be anything. So hanging out with Peter and just that level of artist was a real eye opener for me because I thought I was okay. But then I'm sitting next to him and I'm going, are you kidding me? Okay, I got to work way harder. I got to do a lot more work. And that was really the impetus that really just to this day, it's like somebody's holding a candle to me, going faster, faster. Draw more, work harder, do another one, do one more. And that's the other thing I found with my students was they do a drawing. I go,
Uh,
okay, that's not great. Do another one, another one.
hey, bring
So
me the
yeah,
other four that you're supposed to have
yeah,
last night.
so supposed to have for next week. So yeah, but that's the thing about. I mean, and I don't think it's just artists. I think it's if you're any kind of performer, huh? Whether you're a singer or a dancer or a sports person, anything, you never stop practicing. You're never not working on something, right? I mean,
Right.
so you're always going. Successful actors, athletes, anything. The minute you're done with something, you're taking more lessons. You're taking more classes. You're taking more singing lessons. You do workshops. When Tiger Woods gets done with the tournament, he's over practicing putting. You never stop because you can't.
Right. And you have an idea, and then you go, oh, look, there's another idea. And
Right.
here's another one over here. There will be more. There will be more. Otherwise, you're just like, I had one idea. So, yeah, and it's because you mentioned that your friend, that folks, dad worked at Xerox. The backgrounds of a lot of these artists, we think of artists like, oh, they grew up in a Garrison Pettis or something. But it's like your family was so against you being an
Yes.
artist that it's
Yes.
hysterical. Like someone has to make a movie about this. It's a riot. The stories you've told me about your parents going drawing, you're drawing.
Drawing. Paint the house.
How are you
Fix the
doing?
roof. How dare you draw? Wash the car. Yeah. No, my mother had grown up during the Great Depression and was always fearful about money. And we were poor. And so she was always terrified that I was going to end up in a garret somewhere, starving, living on Slim Jims and, cardboard. So she was vehemently opposed to my doing art of any kind. I should be doing something else. I should be doing something practical. And so I used to draw in secret. I had a flip
In
top
secret.
desk, and I would draw under. I'm doing homework, Mom, and I would be drawing under. And I hear her coming down the hallway, and I'll put the desk down, hide my sketchbook, and go back to doing my homework. And I was the kid under the bed sheets with the flashlight, doing doing my sketches and drawing. I had a 1 hour ride. We lived way out on the prairie, literally the prairie, and so I had a 1 hour bus ride in the morning and an hour bus ride at night. And I used to draw all the time. So everybody on the bus knew that I wanted to be an artist. And I could draw really good Dick Tracy, Archie and Veronica. I could draw all
Oh,
kinds of
all the old
stuff.
stuff.
And that's what I was doing, I was doing on the bus every day. The kids would come up and say, can you draw such and such or draw so and so? Do a drawing of me. You
Oh,
know,
you took
it's my mom.
requests, right? That's how you started
Right,
getting requests.
you start getting requests, right? I was doing commissions at the age of 13. You know, I was doing, you know, hey, it's my mother's birthday tomorrow. Can you draw me a birthday card? I mean, you know, I still get those. So yeah, but I was always aware that whatever I was doing had to serve a purpose other than just pleasing me. It was kind of interesting if I think about it. It was an early setup for being any kind of an artist or an illustrator. You're always got an audience you're trying to please, right?
Right.
Whether it's the dope on your bus who you're doing this so he doesn't beat you up, you know, or you know,
Very
it's
handy.
right, it's very handy. So it was a good talent to have because it kept me. I didn't get beat up very much because I could draw. Yeah, but
Well,
yeah,
and
no,
that's one thing with writing, when people ask me about how you write a book, I go, well,
right.
who's your audience? You're telling a story, but you're telling it to someone. You know, take your stuff out, read it out loud. You're telling a story to someone. Who are you talking to? Who are you telling this story to?
Well,
And
it's
then when
always
you
who's
go,
your
who
artist,
are they? And
who's
you
your
go,
audience.
oh, and that's, yeah.
Who's your, well, I remember you telling me somebody asked you, somebody from Little House asked you, how'd you write your book? And said, well, I opened up my computer and I started typing, right? I mean, you got to start doing it. You got to start
Start
somewhere.
somewhere.
Yeah, and I don't forget what I was going to say now, but yeah, the whole idea that you're gifted by the gods or something, and this just comes to you like a flash. I don't know why that myth is so prevalent in our culture, but it's just not true
People
most of the time.
people hope it's true. They go, no, it's not because I'm lazy. No, it's because he was clearly struck by lightning. It couldn't be because I sat on my
Right.
ass and I didn't do
Right. People say, oh, you're so lucky you're an artist. I've been
so
drawing
lucky.
for 50 years. You know, what are you talking about? Yeah, it's really it's
But it
hilarious
did
to me.
work out. Now, your parents would actually like yell at you and like would send you to bed, like if you'd get in
Oh, they
trouble.
would.
Trouble.
My mother would grab my sketchbook out of my hand, and you can get this after you've washed the car, you know, or after you've. Oh yeah, no, because I mean it was that she was just dead set against it, and hilariously, about 10 years after I got out of school, my mother was the one who ran the craft festival art fair at the in the town that they lived in. She completely did a flip flop
Wow.
and denied that she had ever
Oh,
discouraged me from
she
being an.
blocked it. She just
Oh,
blocked it all out. That did not.
completely
No,
blocked it
it
off.
didn't happen.
Somebody actually, so at some point she actually read a blog I wrote about this whole thing about parents, and she was very angry at me for saying such horrible things about her, and she never did that. And my sister was like, are you kidding, mom? Of course you did. You know, she
Oh,
just completely
your
blocked it
friends
out.
like, are you kidding? Yeah, hello. I said you had a
Yeah,
witness. I was there. You didn't want him to draw, but what did they want you to be? What did they want you to
a
be?
teacher, a minister of all things, a
Oh
teacher,
no,
a
no, no,
a
no.
doctor, something. Well, it was an era when I was. This is weird to me. I think about it. I don't know what any of my relatives did for a job. They all had a quote unquote a good job. I never knew
Job.
what any of them did because it was after World War II. It was the 50s and 60s. They all
Yeah,
had a
that's right.
good
Yeah,
job,
good
and they
job.
never talked.
Benefits and
They
stuff.
didn't
Yeah,
have careers. They did. They weren't
that's right. No,
pursuing.
that's right. You had a job and you were kind of loyal to the company, but you had benefits. You got that health insurance and the company
Right,
picnic and the.
and that's what my mother wanted me to get a good job, and to this day I've never had a good job.
But you have a
Yeah,
great job because I've been to your house. You do not
yes,
live in a little tiny apartment. You live in a
I do not.
large home in a nice neighborhood in Boston. You have this weird house. It's like a cake. There's like all these rooms and
Yes, it's,
things
it's like
going
a
on. If you and yeah, jump on
Victorian
this top
wedding cake.
floor thing, and you're in the and now as you
So,
said, you've cleaned up. You still have a lot of stuff. I did accuse you of having several rooms entirely full of paintbrushes, which you have been known to at
well,
times.
that hasn't changed. That I do, but it gives me lots of rooms to write off on my taxes because I paint in this room, I paint in the room behind me, I paint in the back room, I paint in the kitchen, I paint everywhere.
All of them.
Right, I paint everywhere. No, I was going to say before, I went, and this is crazy if I think about it. I actually went to art school never having met an artist or never even having spoken to an actual artist. It
No,
seemed like a good idea. It worked out, but I was completely blind. I had no idea what an artist actually did. I'd never met an artist, and I just thought art school seemed like fun, you know.
just you
But
were drawing Archie and Veronica on the bus and
right,
went.
so I could do this. I could do this. I could be Charles Schultz, you know. How
But
hard is
there was a
Snoopy to draw?
sign there because even at that age, kids know, and kids are often brutally mean. If you weren't really good, and especially since there were people who were quite happy to beat you up, as we know, the
Right.
smart kids get bullied.
Yes.
if they weren't brilliant, they would have looked at the drawings and go, what are you doing? What is that supposed to be? They might have even beaten you up more if they really thought they
Yeah.
sucked.
You're
But
not very good. Bam. You know, right.
yeah, I had to go, what is that? But it was so good that people were like, hey, can I get a card for my mom? Hey, I'm not going to kick your ass today. Can you draw me Veronica again? It's,
Exactly. No, exactly. It was a way
you
to
got to be
survive.
good.
Yeah, it was a way to survive. And it was when you're a kid, you're trying to come up with anything that will raise you above the rabble, right? You have something that's unique to you. So the fact that I was the artist, oh, he's that kid who's the artist. And there were only a couple of us in my school system who could actually do anything. I think saved me from a lot of beatings. Yes, I think there was. I
I
think
I
that's,
learned to run very, very fast, and I was really funny. It's like, yeah, get funny really quickly because
yes,
if they're stopped going, wait, what did you just say? And they start laughing, you have time to run
right.
away. And
It's hard.
even
It's
better if
hard
they
for
go,
them.
oh, and all of their little henchmen friends go, wait, that was really funny, and start laughing at them.
Right. If they're
One might
laughing,
die if you don't move very quickly, but it's still pretty good because their little friends start laughing. This stalls them. So yeah, I learned to be extraordinarily funny to not get hit in the
right.
face. Ah,
Exactly, exactly. You got to come up with something to survive, right? You got to come up with some reason to survive. Yeah. So my art was that was my ticket to safety, and it kind of made me. I was like an enchanted kid in my school. Oh, he's the artist,
the
and people
artist.
would come up. People I didn't even know to this day. I don't know who the hell they were. Would come up to me and ask me if I could do a drawing of a cow or something. My mother collects sheep. I don't know, whatever. And can you do a drawing of a sheep for me? So I mean, that was my entire high school was doing that. The other thing about my parents was that I wasn't allowed to take any art classes in high school. Seriously,
Even better.
until I was a senior, I had to have. Well, New York State has this Regents program, and if you're going to go to college, you have to take all the Regents classes, which are slightly elevated versions of normal classes. So by the time I was the end of my junior year in high school, I had all the credits I needed to graduate. Of course, my mother wouldn't let me graduate, so I had to go. So my entire day was made up of basket weaving, jewelry making, drawing, running errands for the office, taking shorthand, remember shorthand, and typing, and all these
That kind of sounds
ridiculous.
like heaven. Wait, if I could go to
It was
school, like we're going to do basket making and we'll run some errands, I'd be like, okay.
I didn't take any actual classes in my senior year of high school. I just spent the entire day running around the school having fun, and it was great. It was great. So yeah, but because of that, I wasn't allowed entry into art school because I had no experience, and my portfolio didn't have the right number of pieces in it. So I had to go to night school for a year. Now they call it continuing education, but I had
Oh
to go. I
my
had
God.
three nights a week. I had to go to school from 7 to 9 o'clock, and I did that for an entire year to build up my portfolio. And then I reapplied, and I got accepted the second time I applied. But yeah, I because I had no high school experience to speak of, I wasn't allowed to go into art school.
Okay,
So
so if
I was
are you going to do an
determined.
autobiography? Are you going to do a book about your life at some point, do you think?
Yeah, yeah, probably yeah.
And I think
But
you
I
have to
was
call it
determined.
like forbidden drawing or something.
Right, I'll show them.
Forbidden
But
comic.
that was But to this day, I think is that sort of I'll show them kind of mentality is still behind me. It's like, oh yeah, tell me something I can't
Okay,
do, and I'll go do it.
how many stars? How many rock stars? How many famous actors? How many everything? We're
Right,
like, I'll show them all.
right. Yes, I'll show them. And to this day, if people say, "Have you ever painted a fox or a cow?" and it's like, no, but so what? I'll figure it out. And
You
my
recently
father was
painted a fox. Wait, you sent me pictures, and I
yeah,
noticed. I was
sent you
like,
a
okay,
fox,
I know he sent elephants. I know he didn't cows. There, one of the pictures you sent me was a fox. It's a
a fox. Yes.
large fox.
It's huge. It's 5 foot tall. It's almost as tall as me. And it was for the town of Foxborough, Massachusetts, which is where the New England Patriots play. And they did this art thing for the town. They had 5 foxes painted by artists, and they picked me. And he's now sitting out in front of the theater, the town theater in the town square. That looks a lot like Back to the Future. That place over at Paramount Studios. It looks exactly like that with my fox sitting in the middle of it. Yeah, it's
Wow.
very cool.
So
But I did that.
you literally pay everything. Now you do stuff. I mean, a lot of these you talk about things for charity and these weird like civic projects, but you also do stuff for like money. I mean, you've done the
Oh yeah,
websites, you've done restaurants, you've done restaurants. I mean, it's like you
yes,
really. I mean, like I said, consignment since 13.
yes. I sent you the picture of the stained glass window we just painted.
Yeah.
I think yes, that was for a restaurant. No, and that paid very well. Yeah, that was a big 6 foot square stained glass window. I'd never painted a stained glass window before. So my assistant and I went there and we were looking and going, how do we do this? And I'm like, I have no idea. So we'll figure it out. And but the owner saw my artwork, liked it, and wanted it on a window. So I was okay. I've never done this before. So we figured it out, and it came out amazing. It's humbling to look at. It's like we painted that. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it looks like stained glass. It's amazing.
Now,
So yeah, I've
you
never
did a
done
bunch
that
of
before.
album covers. I remember for ages you've done album cover where you've done
Yes,
art of album covers where a famous person has a fabulous album cover or historic album. You go, I can do that. And you do this whole psychedelic recreation, fabulous artistic impression
I
of the
did.
album cover, which it makes it like a whole separate piece of art to the point where you then started having the people who made the record call you and go, hey, I need that in my living room. Can you paint one of my, could you do one of mine?
Yes, no, I think I'm up to, yeah, I had done about 400 paintings of
Wait,
existing
400?
albums. Yeah,
400? I think it was like 40. You did
oh
400?
no, I'm up over 400 at this point. Yeah, I've done over 400 paintings of existing album covers. And then the tide started to turn. And now for the last couple of years, I've had bands regularly calling me, asking me if I can create a new album cover for their band or if they can
Well, I
use a
said, well,
piece of
I
my,
said that you're doing now actual album covers. People going,
yes,
well, now we
oh,
want that to be the album cover.
I've done, I think we've done 20 album covers in the last 3 years since COVID. We've done about 20 album covers for new bands, and it's great. Well, now because people aren't really doing albums, but it's like we do it like it's an album cover, and they use it for posters or promotions or Spotify, whatever, wherever you get the music these days. But yeah, the actual album covers, and some of them get made into CDs. And I have 2 vinyl album covers that
Vinyl.
they actually did vinyl album covers. Yeah, so actually, which is what I wanted to do in the '60s, but I had no way to do that. I had to wait like a few decades, and then now I'm
And
doing
you
album
wait for
covers.
vinyl to come back. Vinyl went
Yeah,
away,
well,
so you couldn't make
yeah,
the album covers. And then, oh, it's back. I can do this. And
yeah, I
then
had to wait. Yeah.
didn't you have a couple people whose albums you had done say, but I want that now,
Yes.
like in their house?
Uh, yes, I had a couple. One was I did a lot of artwork for the Beatles for the anniversary of Yellow Submarine, and they had seen my work and liked it, so I did a bunch of work that they made into merchandise for the celebration of the 50th
Wow.
anniversary of Yellow Submarine. And I had done a painting of one of my things for Yellow Submarine that they were going to use for a special edition, very limited edition present that they were going to do a special pressing of the album, and like they were going to do like 50 of them or something and give them out to specific people. I never got one,
No,
but yeah, so doing something for the Beatles, that was pretty good. That was
but
pretty
that
good.
makes sense because a lot of your stuff is it's all very Yellow Submarine.
It
That's
is
like the
very
look
yellow.
they cultivated.
It,
Didn't you know something was like P. Diddy or somebody did like
oh, that was Biggie
what did you
Smalls.
paint?
No, I had done a painting of Biggie Smalls
Biggie
because
Smalls.
I thought he'd look
Yeah.
cool, and then Puff Daddy and
Of Daddy.
Ludacris, Lil Kim. I forgot half the other people. There's like a whole bunch of people who are the who's who of hip hop and rap. Did this tribute album for Biggie, and they used my painting. They wanted me to do a version of my painting that they used on the album called Unbelievable. It's still available, and that became the go-to picture of Biggie Smalls. And to this, I did that about 10 years ago, and I still get requests to do. I think I've done about 50 or 60 versions of that album cover painting because
Wow.
people want me to paint that album cover for them. And it was my painting, so that was pretty cool
But
stuff.
it was a thing like I like album covers, so I'm doing this, and
Yeah,
then suddenly the people are calling you. Yes, no, but now we
yeah,
want the album. Like, okay, yeah, that's it. But
but to
bananas,
have
and then
had, but to have done an album cover for Biggie Smalls, that's good. And to
yeah,
have
no,
done one for the Beatles, that's pretty amazing. So yeah, I mean,
kind of.
that's pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah,
Now
I
we've
love it.
talked before about the whole insanity of NFTs. The NFTs, the non-fungible, because we like saying
Non-fungible. We love saying fungible.
fungible
Non-fungible. I love that word.
token. You did do an NFT for somebody. It was a
Oh, I
charity.
did a bunch of them.
A
Yeah, I
bunch of
did a suite of them for an elephant rescue charity that was somewhere based in London, and they raised quite a bit of money for them. It was interesting because it changed over a period of 6 days. If you put a bid in on the NFT, it was an auction. Over the course of 6 days, the image changed. It was animated and it changed every day. It turned into a new image, and then you owned the final image but you also
Nice.
owned the whole series. So I thought
You
that
get to
was kind of
watch it.
cool.
Now
Yeah, so I
that's
did.
interesting. That's what we're saying. That's much more interesting. Now you're still doing. We talked about. We have not done an NFT for me. We have not done an NFT of like psychedelic Nelly. We also talked about that you have invented your own colors on occasion because there's the computer technology to do so.
Right.
Unfortunately, not the ink to print it.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, you can't print these things because they don't look the same. But I do create my own colors pretty regularly because you can do it now with all these sampling and all this stuff. I need a different shade of purple or somewhere. It's always in that sort of blue purple area where the number of paints to choose from are few and far between. So I think there's a sad lack of paints in that part of the spectrum. So
There's
I
a
always
sad
end up
lack
making,
of purple.
yeah, I always end up making my own, but they're not pigment paint, they're digital paint. And you can't create those shades in paint because you just can't for whatever reason.
So you
You just can't do it.
literally created a technically non-existent color, a color that not only does not exist in nature, but does not even they don't even have paint of it.
Right, right. So I have several of them. There's a shade of green I use that you can't buy. I can't replicate in paint. And there are several shades of dark purple that I use that you can't replicate in paint because it just looks black.
Okay, this is like that's like really weirdly mind bending. It's like I made up a
I
color.
made my own colors because I
I
didn't see the
made up
color I
a
wanted.
color and I can't even print it. If I show it to you on a screen, I cannot print it because it doesn't physically exist.
It doesn't, yeah, if you can't paint these colors. And if you try to print them, which I try to print them all the time, they just go
Mush.
black. They just go really dark. Yeah. So
Wow.
I've created my own colors, because there just aren't enough colors. And
There aren't enough colors.
people
I
laugh
think
when I say that, but yeah, I use all the colors,
see this
but I
is why you
want
should write
more.
a book, and I think that should be the big quote. There aren't enough colors.
There aren't enough colors to pick. Yeah.
There are not
And
enough.
but this is something I've been pursuing since I was in art school because I had a teacher who was really into with color theory, and I would just spend hours with him talking about. He would show me his mystical paintings. This was way before computers. And there's a painting in the art museum in Rochester, New York called Galaxy by Fritz Troutman. And if you're standing right in front of it, it looks like you could just reach in and touch all these spheres and planets.
Mm.
And there's no black paint in that painting, but it looks, so how do you do that? Teach me how to do that, oh great Swami. And so he taught me how to do that. And that's when I started getting interested in, like, he kept saying, well, they'll never be able to make a poster or a print of this painting because you can't reproduce these colors. And here I am decades later with the same situation. I can't reproduce some of the stuff I do digitally because the colors don't exist. You can't print them. And I've tried for years to get printing companies to work with me.
Right, because you've talked to me about paint companies and ink companies and all these people. You know all these people, and I would think someone watching this would go, "I have a paint company. Make the paint." They can't do it.
They won't do it. They won't do it.
They won't do it. Well, guess who's going to buy it? We got to go make so many cans of this stuff, and who the hell's going to?
Who's gonna know the difference?
Because we can't just make you one jar for you.
Right. It's the way
in order to justify turning on the machine.
Right. And
we have to make more.
When you print something in full color, it's actually 4 colors: black, cyan, magenta, and yellow. Right. And I, for years, have tried to get a printer that don't use black. Let's use purple. Let's see if we can find the right shade of purple that'll give us the vibrations that we need, and it won't kill the overall intensity of the color. And I have never had a printer who was willing to do that, ever. They get scared.
And you can't shove a purple cartridge or take out the black ink cartridge from a printer at home and dump it.
No, I've tried. You can't.
Of course you would have. You would have done.
Yeah, no, I destroyed one of my desktop printers trying to do that. It was like, ooh, that was a bad idea. But yes, it's just theoretical. It's all theoretical at this point. I can see it. I know how to do it, but I can't replicate it on paper. It can't be done.
Ben, we haven't done an NFT, but I think we have to do at least one art piece, like a Nelly art piece with, I want to see my face. I want to see the Nelly in a color, at least one of these colors that is.
Okay, sure. Oh, it'd be great if we did like Nelly with purple with pink lips and blue eyes.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then it could, over the course of a couple of days, it could change into regular Nelly. That would be cool.
It'd be
Yeah,
insane.
we could
And
do
then
that. Yeah.
I just want to see these other colors because you're not normal. This is the
No, well, no, of course not. We're friends. How can I be normal? Right.
right. We hit it off like immediately. That was like the crazy thing. It was just like so fabulous. And that's why, I mean, that's why my website, if you go to bonnetheads.com, it's the website where I have all like the fan stuff. And that's because in the 1800s, also known as the 90s, when it was primitive, when computers were like hand crank and we had like, you'd sign into AOL and go,
right, that horrible noise.
Yeah, it was like that bad. And you said, you need a website. Everyone has a website. And I didn't have a website. And you were like, I do that. And you created the website became bonnetheads.com with all this crazy stuff on it and all my stuff. And we just hit on, I was just like, and it was so primitive. I would mail you things. I took pictures and stuff and put it in a box at the post office and sent it to you. And you put it up on the web.
I did. Yep, and we'd scan it and make it into digital and put it up on the web. Yep. We had to keep the little mice running to keep the computer going. Yeah.
It was like so basic and it's just hysterical. But you do other things. I have to have you. Are you still doing the Howie Jeep tours of Boston?
Yes. Although I no longer have a Jeep. My Jeep.
You got rid of the Jeep. I love the Jeep. So what did you get?
I like the Toyota, a little boring Toyota. But
are you going to be able to get out in the snow? Because one of the things of the Jeep was your whole street would be snowed and you'd be like la 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 la.
Yes, the Toyota is very good. It's much it slides a lot. So we didn't get any snow this last winter, so it hasn't been a problem. But yes, so I'm still an avid tour guide for the parts of Boston that the tourists don't see. Yeah.
Right. And this is not a job thing. Does anyone pay you to do this, or is this just a lunatic hobby?
Just do it for fun. Just do it for fun. Because it's all the cool stuff that they don't show you on those stupid bus tours and stuff. You know, that people, I mean, a lot of stuff happens in Boston and you just don't see it. So this is where, this is where the gangster lived. This is where Mark grew up, which is right up the hill from my house. This is where the New Kids on the Block. I mean, I know all this stuff because I live here. So I take people around. I show them all my sights of Boston. Yeah, so it's pretty crazy.
You took me to where the good the lobster rolls were. You did take me to the lobster roll place.
I did. Yes, and we got stuck in the rain that time. Remember?
That's right.
We were out on the beach and suddenly just the skies opened up. We had to go find shelter in the restaurant. Yeah. Yes. Well, that's my eating tour of the North Shore. Yes, I just did that recently with a couple of people. We started on Revere Beach. We have a lobster roll, and then we go up to Rockport, go to the castle. We have a strudel at Helmet Strudel in Rockport. Then we go have clams, fried clams. Yes, it's the eating tour of the North Shore. Yes, I love doing that because again, that's something. Unless you live here, you wouldn't know that all that stuff was there.
No, it's not regular stuff that is on the tour.
There's a castle in Gloucester, Massachusetts.
There's a castle. How old is it? Because I have a castle down the street from me. That's the whole thing in Tonga. There is a castle. There's a castle. It's like from the 20s, maybe.
Yeah, this is I think it was built probably in the 20s. It was by Mr. Hammond, who invented radar and the Hammond organ. So like Steve Winwood plays the Hammond
castle.
And he and Hedy Lamarr co-worked together to create radar.
Yes, that's right. A lot of people don't remember. Yes, the actress Hedy Lamarr invented radar.
Right, invented radar.
And she had multiple patents and inventions, and like we wouldn't have Wi-Fi. There was one of them that later became what we know as Wi-Fi.
Right, Wi-Fi too. Yeah, so but he was very rich, and he built a castle. There's a castle in Gloucester, Massachusetts, and you could drive right by it and not know it's there because it's sort of, below along the coast, and there's like a cliff. So that's something that you see on my tour. But yeah, great.
Now, I saw you've also got stuff where you had a thing for the Harvard Museum.
Yes. A year ago, I got asked to design a mural for the Harvard Museum of Natural History's the summer solstice. They have a big fair on June 21st every year. And it's out at Street Fair. And my friend Zach, who was just calling now, is one of the art directors at the museum. And he and I created this sort of like a paint by numbers mural for the museum, and we were expecting maybe we'll get 50 or 60 kids who will want to paint on it. We had like hundreds of people come and want to paint on it. So we did an entire mural in 2 hours. And so we did another one this year, but it didn't come out so well. It was because we just lost control of it. But they used it for the cover. They're making a poster out of it. They used it for the cover of their catalog. So it's really cool. They're really cool. But yeah, for a museum, an actual museum, which is pretty cool.
And then I saw you did the cover though with the Paul Frank thing with that weird like monkey Funko
Yeah,
thing.
Julius. That's his like that's his sock monkey. Yeah,
That's
that's
his version of
Paul.
my job sock monkey. Yeah.
Yeah, Paul Frank, for people that don't know, is a kind of street fashion guy. He does like skateboards and street fashion,
And you see
and
the stuff because you see that weird monkey. That's weird
uh,
monkey with the big face. Yeah.
yeah, whose name is Julius.
I
So
think it's
Julius the monkey, they're making him into toys, and I got asked to design the toy. So he's going to be 24 inches tall, and you can order them now. You can pre-order them now on my website. But yeah, that's my first designer toy for somebody other than myself. Yeah, I've done hundreds of toys, as you know. I
You've done a
painted
lot of. I mean, I've been in your house. Oh my God! Yes, you have made a lot of toys.
hundreds of them, but this was the first sort of other client who asked me to do a toy for them. Now we did the ponies. I've done
We did,
ponies
we
and
did,
cows, and other things,
did
but
ponies.
this is a really cool designer toy for Paul Frank, which I was honored to be asked. Really cool. Yeah, so I'm
You were
excited about
waving
that.
around a book earlier. You did a book cover.
Oh yes, I did. I did the first illustrated version of The Invisible Man, the H.G. Wells
Whoa!
classic. There's never been an illustrated version of it before. This is for Simon and Schuster, a real publisher. It's not self-published, and
So
there
this
are
is
30.
you. This is The Invisible Man, illustrated by Mr. Howie Green. This is
This
out
is
now.
aha.
Simon Schuster, you got a real publisher. Okay, good.
Yeah, it's a real publishing company, and
Because
there's
you did
37.
Jazzfish Zen, which was some loyal fans have their
That's
Jazzfish
true.
Zen.
Yeah, that
That
was my
was
real. I did Jasper Sand. I did several sort of kids books that other people have published, and this one, and there's maybe another one in the works to be another part of the series. But this was I was like thrilled to do this because I love the Invisible Man, and so I did this all in a completely different style. This is like a lino cut, like a wood cut style, very
whoa.
different,
It's
not
spooky
psychedelic.
looking. Open that one up again. That was scary.
Well,
That picture.
I don't know if I can find it again, but I'll find another one.
Or another scary one.
Yeah, well, here's another scary one.
Okay, see, there you go. The others are all like happy cows, and that's like disturbing and
Right.
terrifying, and it's going to give me nightmares.
Right. So because it's the story, it's a very creepy story, So I had
Yep.
to do a different style of art. But they had seen that the publisher had seen a woodcut I'd done of the devil. I love devils, and they loved it, so they wanted me to illustrate the book in that same style. So
All right, and Bob just came home and walked
hi
into the room
Bob.
and said, "Don't you need this? This
Yes, you
is
need that. There's our pony, our
this
lovely
is
pony,
this
the
is
Prairie
indeed
Princess
this
pony.
is the Prairie Princess pony." And so see it's and you just see it is evocative, as it were, big flowers on her butt, but it is evocative of someone because look at the beautiful blonde hair. But what got me about this that you created this and then they made the models is that not just, oh look, it's very pretty, it's pink, it's good, but look, it's the eyes,
It's
the
the
eyes
Ellie, the Nelly, you should die eyes. Yes,
judging you.
yes,
Somehow he made a
judging you.
horse that is judging you, that is giving you the
It
evil
looks
stare.
like
And not
yes.
everyone can do that. That's not something a normal person could do. So
Well,
this is
we
the kind
did that for the Trail of the Painted Ponies, which is a
yep, Charlotte Perry
well-known,
bonus.
yeah, Trail of Painted Ponies, and they make collector ponies, and you and I got to do that one, which is really cool. I
That's
love doing stuff.
bananas. Now, so tell everyone about your website, and on your website they can get everything from what furniture, toys, paintings, books, it's like
They can
everything in the world.
get pillows, all kinds of my art, canvas, prints, reproductions. You can buy pins, you can buy books, you can buy my toys, all that on howiegreen.com. Yeah. And you can buy, I did another weird one, blotter paper prints, which is like, yeah, blotter paper prints. Who knew, right? Um, it's kind of the blotter paper people used to use to take acid with, but now they print art on it and they do limited edition art prints on it. So a gallery in England did a portfolio of 9 of my images on blotter paper.
Which would totally look like the things people did acid with because they would have cute little drawings. It's hello.
So I did, they were 9 of them. They were limited edition of 200 each. And I sell those too. So, I'm always selling something. So yeah.
You're always selling stuff. So they can get the book too. They can get the Invisible Man
Yes, they
where
can get
you've
the
drawn
Invisible Man
the whole
book
thing.
up.
So
They can
that's
get
new. They can get that. They can buy jigsaw puzzles, toys, everything. Or they can buy a painting, like a regular person, a painting.
Painting or print, or I can't buy an NFT. Yeah, you actually can buy an NFT. You can buy, I did a second series for another elephant rescue thing, and you can buy those on there. What else is, yeah, pins, the prints, all kinds of stuff on my website. Yeah, so go to howiegreen.com and click on the Pop Art Store link, and you'll see all kinds
Fantastic.
of my weird
And
stuff.
again, shockingly, we are out of time. Like we did
Well, you
last
and
time.
I
We're
did it.
like,
Yeah. I'm going to talk to Howie for 5 minutes, and an hour goes by, right? Yeah.
That's pretty much what happens here. So thank you again. Thank you again. Like I said, it's like apparently Boston Art Month here. This is for you, Ryan. What is even going on? But I've got to get back out there and like see you. I'm like, my schedule's too weird. I'm coming to New York, but I'm doing like back to back to back, and then Rochester, and then like leaving the next day for France.
Well,
So I just
we're coming to see you.
come see me in Rochester. I will at least be in Rochester for like 48 hours or something.
Well, I'm doing another series of murals in Rochester. So I have to go there to do those. So I'm going to do it so you'll be there, and we'll go see you, and we'll come by and say
Fantastic.
hi.
We'll figure it out. We'll get a lobster roll or something will happen. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank all of you for watching the Alison Arngrim Show. And I'm Alison Arngrim.
Bye.
I found my way home across the grand